So I was watching Avatar: The Last Airbender, the movie, the other day. Hey, don't judge me. I've got kids. You do whatever your kids want. Anyway, I was watching Airbender, the last, the Avatar movie, the other day. My youngest turned to me and he said, "Hey, Dad, can you make my eyes glow like Aang's?" And I said, "Sure. Let's go shoot some stuff and make you look fierce and mean, and then add a cool glow." So here we are in After Effects, and I have loaded up a shot that I took the other day outside, and boy, look, this kid is angry. He's ready to go kick some behind, and we're going to make his eyes glow. And there's a multi-step process that we are going to take in order to get this to look all nice and glowy. And there are a number of different ways that we can do it. I'm going to do it in a way that may seem backwards to a lot of people, but for me, it works. So the first thing we're going to do is, I've already trimmed this clip and I've dropped it into my timeline. This is a 4K clip. You could resize it down to, whatever that you want to do. But I'm going to scrub down into my timeline to a point where his eyes are fully looking at the camera. And then we're going to create a new solid. And the solid that I'm going to do, and I know I'm going to have these backwards, but I'm just going by what I see. So I'm going to go right side and left side. Let's make it the comp size. And I'm going to start this out as a white layer and hit OK. And then I'm going to disable the layer, the visibility for this layer. And with that layer still selected, that's the key thing right here. With the layer still selected, I'm going to select my pen tool. And I'm just going to go in and I'm going to draw around his eye as close as I can. And something like that. And I'm going to go in and tweak this, get it nice and smooth. Kind of try to remember where these points are all at in relation to his eye. And you can get in really close if you want, just to kind of make this line as smooth as you can. That may mean dragging out these handles and adjusting them. And I'm also, because we're going to go for some glowing eyes, I'm not really too concerned about the eyelashes. Depending on the type of shot you're doing and how glowy you want your eyes, that may be an issue for you. So here we go. Here we have our mask. And if I turn visibility back on for this layer, you can see we have a very white eye. And of course, I could feather that out to something like 20, right? And so we get something that's a little bit softer and follows along with the shape of the eye at this particular point. And again, adjust it as needed or as you see fit or as you like it. Now, what I'm going to do is back on the mask part of this layer, I'm going to go ahead and set an initial keyframe for this position right here. Even though I don't necessarily need to do this, I'm going to use it kind of as a marker, as a placeholder for some work that is going to happen next. So again, I'm going to turn off the visibility for this layer, and I'm going to go back to my original layer, and I'm going to track the eye, because we see that as his head moves down to up, his head's going to move around, and I'm going to track this eye so it makes this masking a little bit easier. Certainly one way we could do this is simply animate the mask all the way through this shot, but that's going to require a lot of movement of the mask over time, with the potential for, just a lot of little pushing and pulling of those points throughout the entire piece. So a better way to do this would be to track the eye, and once the eye is tracked and we parent this particular layer to that eye track, then we're not moving the mask as much because the layer is moving, so the mask doesn't have to move as much. You'll see what I mean here in just a moment. So I'm going to go ahead and track some motion, and I'm going to just go in, and as we're working in 4K, we've got a really big area to track. And I'm sorry for those of you that have gross eye problems, that you don't like looking at eyes. I apologize, but this is really kind of the best way to track this. So I'm going to track this both forward and backward. And because I tracked this, or I started this mask and I started this track at a point where his head was looking straight into the camera, I can track forward and know that this track is going to be really consistent and really solid. So we'll just let this track throughout the rest of the shot. Great. We've got that done. I'm just going to move back to our last good track spot, which should be right around here. And again, if I want to, I could bring up the mask path, the key marker there. Now I'm going to track backwards, and this is where we're going to run into a little bit more problem, because as his head turns down and as he starts to look down, this area that we're tracking could easily get lost. So we'll start tracking backwards, and if we have to stop and adjust, we will. Starts to get lost a little bit down there, so I'm just going to kind of help this out and nudge it along just a little bit. Maybe back up one frame to there and kind of nudge that out just a little bit. And then maybe we'll just continue tracking backwards as much as we can. And it looks like it's doing a pretty good job holding the track. And I only need to track as far back as we can see his eye. His eyes stay open the entire time. But we've only got a few more frames that we really need to track. And right about there, we know that we're completely out of shot there. I'll kind of do something like that. Let's create a new null. And I'm just going to call this one right null. Okay. Then I'm going to go back to our good starting point. And I'm going to edit my target of this track to be the right null. I'm going to hit OK and then apply that null on the X and Y. I suppose we don't necessarily have to do a null object, but this does work. And then now that my null is there, I can now track or parent this right side to the null. And now if we scroll backwards and forwards, and just play forwards from here just a little bit, we should see that that stays nicely, that is well done. Okay, that locks itself into place nicely. So the next thing that we need to do is I need to go back to this mask, and I'm going to animate it across time, because as we move down to here, again, let me turn off the visibility for this layer. We can see that we may need to do a few tweaks here and there to kind of keep it all aligned and together. Again, it's going to be glowing, so this isn't something that has to be perfect. But, you know, if you need to just tighten that up just a little bit here and there, that's fine. Going forward isn't the problem. It's going backwards where we run into some issues. And I'm just going to go back to our last, whatever that last good tracking point was for our null object. Just all the way down here. Go back up here to my mask, and you see that it still kind of tracks with the eye. And then what I'm going to do is just going to move this around. Whoops. Get this really nice and tight in there. Get this to follow the corners of the eye. And this is the part where the eye is going to be closed. So I'm actually going to try to get this as tight as I possibly can as far as these points overlapping with one another. Maybe do something like that. And I don't want to delete the points, although technically I could delete these points. I'm just trying to get some nice tight points going here and kind of close off this entire eye for the moment. So what'll happen is as the eye starts to move, the mask will start to open up. And then what I'm going to do, just, you know, something that we've talked about before, is going through and doing some of that bisecting animation where we go halfway between the key points or the keyframes and we start to move some things around and see what kind of a shape that we can get. Again, we're going to need to make some adjustments as the eye is moving. And I'm not looking to make, again, I'm not really looking to make this perfect. You can be as detailed as you want to be, but just get something that is to your liking. And again, we'll go halfway in between and we'll make the adjustments. Halfway in between. You want to probably pay closer attention to the reshaping of this mask during the actual major part of the movement, as his head is actually moving quite a bit, because I think that's where you're going to see a lot of the changes needing to be made. And just look for any obvious problem areas that are not being covered. That looks good. Halfway in between here, we're still looking good, and we should be good all the way to the end. So now if we turn the visibility on for this layer and we take a look at what's happening, well, we lose some tracking there. So I'm just going to go ahead and trim this layer right to that part where I want the first bit of a glow to be revealed. And if I play through this, we should see the eyes looking pretty good, right? That's not too bad. So now let us take a look at ways that we could really make this eye glow. And there are a couple of ways. One of the easiest ways is to simply, and let's just move back down here. One of the easiest ways is simply to apply the glow effect. Might help if I spell it. The stylized glow effect right to the eye. And you can see that as we apply this to the color channel, we can increase this glow radius and really start to get a white hot glow onto this eye. And again, now as we look at this, if we're looking at this white hot glow, we see that moves pretty nicely and looks really cool. But there are some other things that we could do with this glow besides just making it white hot. For example, instead of just using the original color, which is white, we could use AB colors, and we could make our initial color. Let's make this, I kind of want to make it as light green as possible. I know in the movie Avatar, it's blue eyes. I wanted to use a blue eye, but my son really insisted that he wanted green. So let's try green. So I'm going to go with a light green for my A color and a darker green or a more saturated green for my B color. And now we can start to see that green glow start to take some effect. There we go. And now we've got that red or that white hot center. And then we have the green coming off of the edges. And if we wanted to make this a little bit more intense, let me set this to 150. We could duplicate this a couple of times. And you can start to see that every time we do this, that eye becomes more and more intense. And probably what we could do is on the first glow is we could set that down to like maybe 60. And then the glow after that, set that to 120. And then the glow after that, set that to like 240. And get something that looks maybe a little bit more natural as far as that glow as it moves out. And we can see now that as the eye starts to rise up, that glow is right there in your face. And that's not too bad. That does look actually pretty good. Another one, and the one that I like to use instead of using the glow effect, and the glow effect is fine. Don't get me wrong. The glow effect works really, really well. The one that I like, and let me just go in. I kind of want to tweak this down just a little bit. Maybe something more like that for that glow. The one that I like to use is a glow effect that I got from AE Scripts. and that is the deep glow effect. And with the deep glow effect, you're going to notice a problem right away, and that is that it put this box around the eye, which is not what we wanted. That's not what that glow effect was supposed to do or should do. And this is one of those instances where certain effects don't work well with masks, or certain effects don't work when you have a manipulated or changed layer. So what I need to do is I need to pre-compose. So I'm going to right click and select pre-compose, and I'm going to go ahead and move all attributes to the new composition. We don't have to open the new composition though. I'm just going to hit OK. And now where did my mask go? Is it not there? Well, it's still there. Everything's been moved though. That's the problem with the pre-composing. My eye glow has now moved off to the wrong position in the frame. An easy way that we can fix that though is to go to our position property and just reset this to 0. So just hit reset. And now if we flip back, our eye is back in place. And we just need to parent this to the right null again. And we should be good to go after that. So that's the first fix. Now back to deep glow, just add this to the layer. Look at the glow that we get off of this. This one is really, really cool. I like this one a lot. This one is cool because we can increase the exposure to like 1.5 to make it really bright. We can increase the radius of this eye glow if we want and really make it bright. We can also change the tint. And for this one, again, let's go back to that green color. Hit OK. Give it a second to update and maybe set this to overlay. Are we going to get anything different with that? Oh, I need to enable it. So let's enable it first. There we go. Now we get a white hot center with that green glow coming off the edge. And I like deep glow a lot better. I just like it in the way that it creates the glow on the surface. And I think it looks neat as we play through the clip. Looks pretty good. I think that'll work. Certainly you can lower the intensity if you want to. I like it really kind of bright and intense with that. And so that's one eye done. What do we need to do next? Well, we need to do the same process on the left eye. Again, you can do this a couple of different ways. Go ahead and create another solid left side. It's not necessarily left eye. It's actually the right eye because it's backwards, but left side of the screen eye. You know, mask it out at a point where he's looking directly at the camera. Okay. Pre-compose it. So in case you're using a different glow later on, it'll work correctly. So pre-compose that layer, then track the left eye. Go back to this initial layer, track the left eye this time. This one's going to be a little bit more difficult of a track because his eye actually disappears a lot sooner. Somewhere around there is where you would want the eye to cut off. And then you're going to create that left null. You're going to track the left side pre-comp or layer to that left null. And then you're going to animate the shape of the mask over time. We don't have it here. We have it over here. You're going to animate that shape of that mask over time. And then when you're done, you apply your glow effect. So let me show you what this looks like when it's complete. We're just going to jump ahead instead of repeating the entire steps again. Okay, I have completed both eyes. In fact, I've gone back to one of my original projects on this so that you can see how it turned out, and you can see the pre-comped layers and the effects on these layers. And here's my deep glow effect that I used on this one, 700 1.5 for the exposure, with a very kind of minty green on this one. And again, what's nice about this is if I want to change that glow color, it's real easy to just go in. And if I want to do the blue color, boom, there's the blue color. Or maybe you're somebody that likes reds and oranges. There is an orange color that you can use if you don't want to use the green. But he wanted the green, and so I'm going to go with that one, even though I prefer the blue a lot more. All right, one final thing that I need to do. This was shot with the C-Log, the Canon RAW on this image. And the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to apply a look onto this, and I'm going to use the Red Giant magic bullet looks, and I'm just going to drop it down here onto my original layer. I like this because it's real easy to create a really, ooh, look at that kid, he's mad. Create a really quick look on this. And if I apply the loose leaf on here and close it down, hit OK, and there we go. So there's our final look that we have in this shot. Some glowy eyes from an angry kid who's about to unleash some airbending or some green bending or whatever it is. Again, give me a break. At least I wasn't making the kid watch Brightburn or something like that. So there you go. That's how you can create a really cool glowy eye effect. If you have any questions, just let me know.